The mysterious Grimaldi Curse. Centuries ago, according to a legend seldom told but never fully forgotten, a young woman maltreated by a Grimaldi ancestor invoked dark powers and set a curse upon the entire lineage. She supposedly transformed into a witch and pronounced that the Grimaldis would never find true happiness in marriage, dooming them to perpetual sorrow whenever they entered into wedlock. Although most regarded it as a medieval tale that should have faded with time, this notion of a dire enchantment clinging to Monaco's royal family resurfaces whenever tragedy strikes. In modern memory, the legend roared back into collective consciousness after the shocking death of Princess Grace Kelly at the age of 52. Many who recalled the story wondered whether her son, Prince Albert II, would somehow escape the curse when he married Princess Charlene in 2011. With the prince well into his 50s when the ceremony took place, the question lingered: would Charlene be the one to break that ancient hex, or would she succumb to the same misfortune that allegedly haunted the Grimaldis for centuries? Public perception of a somber princess. In the summer of 2011, the world watched a grand ceremony at the Palace of Monaco. Prince Albert II, one of the wealthiest royals in Europe, wed Charlene Wittstock, a former Olympic swimmer from South Africa who had represented her country at the Sydney Games. Glamour radiated from the event, brimming with aristocrats, heads of state, and celebrities in dazzling attire. The entire spectacle seemed like a carefully orchestrated fairy tale, guaranteed to capture headlines worldwide. Yet in the years since that wedding, Princess Charlene has repeatedly appeared in public with an often solemn expression. This singular detail has fueled speculation that she lives under a constant cloud of sadness. Certain tabloids even compare her to Princess Diana, who was known to be deeply troubled behind the polished exterior of British royal life. Though comparisons are never exact, the persistent image of Charlene as a sad princess continues to intrigue and concern observers who question whether a more profound despair lurks beneath her official duties and designer gowns. Culture shock and isolation. Charlene's background could not be more different from the age-old traditions she encountered in Monaco. Born in Zimbabwe and raised in South Africa, she spent much of her youth training as an elite athlete, immersing herself in the rigorous world of competitive swimming. Until she became engaged to Prince Albert, she had little reason to adapt to the protocols and rituals of a centuries-old European principality, let alone learn the palace etiquette or its chief language, French. When she relocated to Monaco, she found herself navigating unspoken social codes at every turn. Courtiers, diplomats, and extended members of the Grimaldi dynasty were accustomed to a well-established system, one where each handshake, wave, and greeting followed a protocol that may have felt alien to a woman whose previous life was spent in lanes of a swimming pool rather than in palace corridors. The language barrier. Monaco's primary language is French, though Italian and English are also spoken by segments of the population. Yet, at official palace functions, in-depth conversations and formalities often occur in French. From the moment Charlene stepped into these events, her rudimentary command of the language placed her at a significant disadvantage. Many in the local press criticized her for not studying French more intensely before marrying Albert, lamenting that a princess of Monaco ought to speak the principality's official tongue with greater ease. Those criticisms, whether fair or not, likely magnified her feelings of being an outsider. Over the years, she has worked to improve, but even a dedicated study regime cannot instantly dispel the discomfort of having every mispronounced word scrutinized by the press and by the watchful eyes of high society onlookers. The Specter of Grace Kelly. One cannot examine Charlene's situation in Monaco without acknowledging the enduring legacy of the late Princess Grace Kelly. The story of a beloved Hollywood actress who relinquished a thriving film career to marry Prince Rainier III is etched into the very fabric of the principality. Grace became a global icon, merging cinematic glamour with royal dignity and capturing hearts worldwide. Her untimely death in a car accident at 52 shocked everyone, securing her status as a tragic but adored figure. Whenever a new princess arrives in Monaco, she is, in some sense, stepping onto a stage still occupied by Grace's powerful legend. For Charlene, the parallels have always been drawn, two stunning blondes who left their previous lives to embrace the role of princess consort in this opulent microstate. Yet Grace's background in Hollywood may have left her more prepared for constant camera flashes, while Charlene was an athlete with neither an appetite nor training for perpetual red carpet scrutiny. Introversion and royal duties. By nature, Charlene appears reserved, even introverted. She was accustomed to the focused mental space of professional sports, where dedication and single-minded discipline outweigh the small talk and social graces so essential in royal circles. Once she became Princess of Monaco, myriad charitable commitments, ceremonial appearances, and interactions with dignitaries became part of her routine. An introverted individual might find these public engagements tiring, even overwhelming. Photographers hoping to capture a warm smile often find her with a measured, controlled expression, interpreted by some as a sign of deep-seated unhappiness. Yet, introversion itself is not proof of misery. It could be that Charlene simply maintains composure in a social context that requires more emotional energy than she cares to expend. Health struggles and prolonged absences. In 2021, Charlene returned to South Africa, ostensibly for philanthropy and to connect with her homeland. However, she remained there for more than half a year after an ear, nose, and throat infection prevented her from flying. She underwent multiple procedures and surgeries, publicly disclosing that she was too ill to travel. Consequently, she missed pivotal events in Monaco, including her 10th wedding anniversary and her children's birthdays. This prolonged absence sparked a flurry of rumors, ranging from marriage collapse to secret plastic surgery to mental breakdown. Friends insisted it was purely medical, while the palace attempted to quell the mounting speculation. Photographs emerged of Charlene looking notably thinner, fueling further concern. By the time she finally returned to Monaco late that year, many were convinced there was more to the story than a persistent infection. Media speculation on appearance. When Charlene re-emerged in public, her once sculpted, radiant face appeared drawn, and her overall demeanor seemed subdued. Rather than allowing space for the natural recovery of a seriously ill patient, the media leaped to dramatic conclusions. The princess's subdued expression was labeled evidence of depression or emotional turmoil. Some circulated the theory that she was planning to flee Monaco, that her marriage had effectively ended, and that the official story of her illness was a facade. Public fascination with potential scandal overshadowed any acceptance that she might simply be recovering, physically drained, and still unaccustomed to the renewed spotlight. Yearning for her homeland. Charlene has not hidden her deep connection to South Africa. In interviews, she has spoken candidly about missing the landscapes, the people, and the sense of belonging she felt there. She also once alluded to losing two close friends back home and being unable to grieve properly with those who knew them. Loneliness and longing for one's roots can become especially painful in an environment where every movement is choreographed and heavily scrutinized. A small principality like Monaco, concentrated on wealth and exclusivity, may not provide the communal warmth or cultural familiarity she once cherished. Some see her sadness as primarily homesickness, amplified by the media glare that keeps her from slipping away to visit her friends and family more often. Image versus reality. Modern royal watchers often fixate on fleeting gestures to build sweeping narratives. A single photograph of Charlene gazing off to the side can spawn countless social media posts asserting she is on the verge of tears or filled with regret. The real story may be far more nuanced. Photos capture a fraction of a second, often out of context. If Charlene is naturally less demonstrative, those images can paint a misleading portrait. Over time, the notion that she rarely smiles solidified, becoming an assumption that she is unrelentingly unhappy. In fact, many of her charity appearances have shown her engaging with children, discussing sports development, or standing near Prince Albert in a measured but seemingly comfortable stance. Nonetheless, the storyline of unhappy princess trapped in Monaco sells far more papers and garners more clicks than princess quietly adjusts to life abroad. The challenge of a blended royal family life. The presence of Prince Albert's two acknowledged children from previous relationships introduces a delicate dynamic. On one hand, he has been praised for accepting responsibility for them. On the other, these additional familial connections can be a source of strain if outsiders, such as the children's mothers, occasionally make provocative statements or appear unexpectedly in Monaco's social scene. From what is publicly known, neither Jasmine nor Alexander poses a direct threat to the succession, but the emotional ramifications for Charlene might be considerable. The media's appetite for conflict means even innocuous family gatherings can morph into drama-laden headlines. The true nature of the curse, scrutiny and tradition. The so-called Grimaldi Curse might simply be an allegory for the relentless pressures that come with this family's princely status. All royals face public exposure, but Monaco's dynasty is particularly notorious for dramatic twists: Princess Grace's fatal accident, Princess Stephanie's controversial love life, and Princess Caroline's tumultuous marriages. These real events can make any legend of a curse seem plausible. Perhaps the real curse is the collision of an entrenched institution, the unyielding gaze of international media, and the personal sacrifices demanded by royal expectations. Institutional pressures on individuals. In Monaco, the ruling family is not merely symbolic, it is central to the nation's identity, tourism, and allure. The prince and princess serve as cultural ambassadors for a place famed for luxurious casinos and a cosmopolitan harbor filled with yachts. Maintaining Monaco's glittering global image is no small task. Charlene, having grown up amid the sporting community of South Africa, might find these implicit demands particularly draining. The palace machinery, formed through centuries of tradition, gives little leeway for personal vulnerabilities. Every day requires upholding protocols, attending official functions, and preserving the glamour that captivates the world's wealthy elite. Deactivation of social media and communication breakdown. For a time, Charlene maintained an Instagram account where she occasionally shared glimpses of her children or philanthropic work. However, when she deactivated that account, people interpreted it as either a desperate attempt to flee public intrusion or a sign of discontent so deep that she no longer wished to engage with the outside world. It could also have been a simple act of self-protection, particularly if reading daily speculation about her health, marriage, or mental state became too overwhelming. The irony is that stepping away from social media often invites even wilder gossip, as the public interprets silence in the most dramatic ways possible. Public empathy versus media sensationalism. A segment of onlookers have shown genuine compassion for Charlene, especially in light of her serious medical procedures. They argue that while wealth and privilege can shield one from certain hardships, they do not negate suffering or loneliness. Another faction, however, dismisses her apparent sadness as melodrama, suggesting that with the resources at her disposal, she has little cause to complain. Media outlets, driven by the need for captivating headlines, often favor stories of royal misery or scandal. That environment perpetuates cycles of rumor where each photograph of Charlene looking weary serves as fresh ammunition for the idea of a princess in perpetual distress. The burden of public doubt. Prince Albert, for his part, has tried to counter speculation by stating unequivocally that Charlene's prolonged absences were medical in nature, and that they maintain a united marriage. However, he faces an uphill battle. The more he denies rumors, the more certain people become convinced there is a cover-up. Doubt grows like ivy, clinging to every official statement and overshadowing any straightforward explanation. In an era where conspiratorial thinking and sensational stories thrive on social platforms, official pronouncements often do little to quell the tide of skepticism. The unique challenges of Monaco's royal image. Unlike larger monarchies, where multiple members share public duties, Monaco relies heavily on Prince Albert and Princess Charlene for representation. The princess therefore bears a significant portion of the public spotlight. She is expected to mirror Monaco's opulence, appearing serene, confident, and impeccably attired at high-profile events. Living under these conditions without an established background in international diplomacy or media relations can be overwhelming. Even Grace Kelly, who was accustomed to Hollywood, found the protocols and ceremonial obligations stifling. Thus, one can only imagine the challenge for someone who thrived in the straightforward, goal-driven world of competitive athletics. Motherhood in the royal spotlight. Charlene gave birth to twins, Jacques and Gabriella, who captured public fascination as the next generation of Monaco's ruling family. Raising children in the palace means navigating a labyrinth of etiquette and public relations. Jacques, as the heir, inherits not just the legacy of the Grimaldis but also the unrelenting attention that comes with it. Charlene appears deeply devoted to her children, sometimes sharing intimate moments of their growth. Nonetheless, critics argue that she remains too distant, lacking the maternal warmth some expect to see at public events. These criticisms may reflect an idealized notion of how royals ought to interact with their offspring, which rarely accounts for personal temperament or cultural differences. Potential for meaningful royal initiatives. One path toward fulfillment might lie in purposeful charitable work. Charlene has already demonstrated an interest in children's sports initiatives and marine conservation, areas that align with her athletic background and Monaco's coastal setting. If she can shape a role that resonates with her personal passions, she might find renewed vigor and authentic joy that can shine through public events. Observers recall that Princess Diana eventually focused on landmine victims and AIDS patients, finding meaning beyond the ceremonial. Charlene may similarly channel her love for swimming, water safety, or African wildlife into high-impact philanthropy, potentially shifting public perception from sad princess to committed humanitarian. The futility of pleasing the press. Royalty everywhere contends with sensational media coverage, but smaller principalities like Monaco find it difficult to counter rumors once they are unleashed. Any attempt to set the record straight is viewed as a sign of desperation or draws further speculation. For an introverted figure like Charlene, the constant swirl of innuendo may appear unwinnable. If she smiles too broadly, people might claim it is forced. If she frowns or stays neutral, negative assumptions continue. The cycle can erode one's sense of agency, pushing some members of royal families to minimize their interactions with the press. The pressure to maintain glamorous traditions in Monaco. Monaco's brand rests heavily on its luxury, the Monte Carlo Casino, the Grand Prix, and a sumptuous harbor dotted with megayachts. While most monarchies maintain traditions, the Principality of Monaco raises it to a spectacle that draws in tourism and foreign investment. Thus, the princess is seen as a living emblem of that elegance. Adopting a simpler, more down-to-earth style might conflict with this expectation. Charlene's occasional appearances in casual or athletic attire, suitable for her sporting endeavors, are often overshadowed by headlines about whether she looked princess-like enough. That burden can lead to a sense of perpetual performance. The no-win situation of public appearances. Royal engagements for Charlene are double-edged. If she attends every function, the media dissects her mood and posture. If she misses events, speculation abounds about discord or ill health. Long-term illness only heightens this cycle, as repeated absences become topics of frenzied gossip. The simple truth that she might not be well enough to perform non-stop public duties rarely satiates an audience hungry for salacious rumors. Each cancelled engagement reinvigorates the storyline of doomed princess, and no official statement can fully halt it. Rebellion versus conformity in royal fashion. One incident that epitomized the media's appetite for drama was Charlene's decision to shave part of her head in a bold, punk-inspired style in late 2020. That hairstyle deviated starkly from the conservative cuts usually seen among European royals. Instantly, tabloids proclaimed she was in crisis, rebelling against palace norms, or sending a desperate message about her misery. Others contended it was merely a personal choice, a modern twist reflecting her athletic roots and individual sense of style. Regardless, it highlighted how even a hairstyle can ignite controversy, reinforcing the notion that every aspect of a princess's appearance is fair game for speculation. Private warmth versus public reserve. Those who have encountered Charlene in more private settings sometimes describe her as gentle, tender with her children, and even softly humorous. This contrasts sharply with the image the global press circulates, a seemingly aloof figure. The disparity suggests that she may simply protect her personal life behind a reserved facade, unwilling to display her emotions to the cameras. Nonetheless, the monarchy's public role may not fully mesh with that inclination. Diana, too, was naturally shy, though she learned to project warmth in public. Charlene, on the other hand, appears more inclined to accept a limited level of public expressiveness rather than feign constant sociability. Patterns of turbulence in the Grimaldi family. Prince Albert's sisters, Princess Caroline and Princess Stephanie, also endured personal upheavals. Stephanie famously pursued relationships that raised eyebrows, including one with an elephant trainer, while Caroline's marriages and losses drew plenty of press attention. Princess Grace herself, though adored, faced rumors of loneliness and a longing for her old Hollywood life. The family's history is a tapestry of glamour and tragedy. Each generation seems to produce its share of dramatic headlines, fueling the narrative that the Grimaldis are fated, or cursed, to endure heartbreak. Charlene's struggles, therefore, fit conveniently into this existing pattern in the public mind. Possible futures for Charlene. Despite the swirl of rumor, it remains possible Charlene will adapt and carve out a space where she feels more at peace. She could, over time, become more comfortable with media engagement or find satisfying ways to represent Monaco that do not overwhelm her. Alternatively, she might quietly withdraw from many of her ceremonial duties, focusing on her health, family, and personal projects. A dramatic parallel could be drawn to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's decision to step back from British royal life, though Monaco's monarchy has fewer members to take up the slack. Any such decision by Charlene would undoubtedly send shockwaves through the principality. The curse narrative versus real-life coincidences. The notion of a centuries-old curse manifests easily when one enumerates the misfortunes and abrupt tragedies that have plagued the Grimaldis. Yet, the same string of events could be explained by probability and circumstance. Car accidents, relationship strife, and untimely deaths happen across all strata of society. The difference is that Monaco's royals stand under a global microscope, rendering every unfortunate incident more dramatic. Magic spells or not, the psychological toll of unrelenting scrutiny and gossip is real, and that might well be the tangible curse that each generation inherits. The palace's attempts to dispel rumors. The Palace of Monaco, along with Prince Albert's occasional interviews, has tried to reassure the public that Charlene's health issues are genuine and that she is supported by her family. These reassurances, however, often fail to change the prevailing narratives. Public fascination with royal unease is formidable. In the internet era, rumors spark quickly and spread widely, fed by social media accounts and tabloids around the globe. Official statements rarely carry the same viral momentum as sensational speculation, so the palace finds itself playing defense at every turn. Charlene's silence and its interpretations. Charlene rarely engages in extended, revealing interviews that might shed light on her inner perspective. She delivers polite comments at official events or short remarks in carefully arranged media interactions. Unsurprisingly, a vacuum emerges where the public yearns for greater insights. Into that vacuum rush narratives of gloom or controversy, further cementing her image as withdrawn or hidden away. If she did speak at length, one wonders whether the media would interpret her remarks generously or twist them into fresh angles for scandal. This quandary likely contributes to her ongoing reticence. Glimpses of vulnerability in public statements. One of the few times Charlene opened up more emotionally was in a 2020 interview where she mentioned losing two close friends in South Africa and feeling unable to be present in their final days. She admitted that she missed her homeland deeply and sometimes struggled with sadness. These revelations provided a more human dimension to her public persona. She was not an ice-cold aristocrat but a person grappling with grief and geographical distance. Yet tragedy soon followed in the form of her ENT infection and extended stay in South Africa, and her admission of vulnerability fed into the swirling narrative that she was desperately unhappy. Emotional toll of prolonged media pressure. Over time, relentless media scrutiny can create a sense of paranoia or exhaustion. Simple acts, like traveling to see family, explode into rumors of escape. Strained facial expressions at an event spark theories of emotional breakdown. In this environment, even the most mentally resilient individuals would find it challenging to appear relaxed and confident. Princess Charlene, reportedly introverted to begin with, might have been further discouraged by the knowledge that her every move was a potential headline. Potential for modernizing the role of princess. In an age when various European royal families have adapted to modern sensibilities, Charlene may have a unique opportunity to reshape the definition of what a princess in Monaco can be. She can draw upon her athletic background to champion sports, healthy living, or aquatic conservation, causes that resonate with her personal story. If successful, such a focus might help the public see her as a determined advocate rather than a reluctant consort. Some historians note that Princess Grace, too, redefined her role over time, using her celebrity to support the arts and charitable causes. Charlene might follow a similar path, albeit starting from a very different vantage point. The appeal of a supernatural explanation. Comparing real-life struggles to an ancient curse can be surprisingly tempting. It simplifies the complexities into a single, almost poetic concept, that the family is doomed by a witch's condemnation. It captures the imagination and spares people from delving into the entangling threads of personal, societal, and historical factors that shape the Grimaldi's hardships. The story of a curse also bestows a romantic gloom upon the dynasty, feeding a desire for drama that tabloids eagerly exploit. For Charlene, living under that narrative can be suffocating. It reduces her problems to an old superstition rather than acknowledging her as a multifaceted human being coping with challenging realities. The human element and hope for resolution. At its core, Charlene's story is about a woman who left behind familiarity and independence to enter a foreign aristocratic world. She contended with expectations, encountered personal health crises, and now grapples with a relentless public gaze that interprets her every move through a lens of rumored sorrow. Perhaps the real curse is the unyielding collision between personal authenticity and a ceremonial role that tolerates few flaws. However, hope lies in the fact that she can still shape her narrative. Health can be restored, relationships can evolve, and modern technology provides various platforms for charitable engagement that might help Charlene find her voice. Psychological strain of royal expectations. Whether or not one believes in an actual malediction, the emotional pressure placed on princesses in high-profile dynasties can be immense. In Charlene's case, combining extroverted ceremonial tasks with her introverted nature, all while contending with repeated surgeries and publicly discussed illnesses, could be more than enough to explain her occasional withdrawn demeanor. A single year of such tension would be grueling for most people. She has now lived in that tension for over a decade. Overcoming these obstacles requires unwavering perseverance, a reliable support system, and perhaps professional mental health assistance, topics that are often shrouded in secrecy within royal households. The self-fulfilling prophecy of the curse. Sometimes, if enough people in an environment believe in a curse or cyclical pattern of misfortune, they start interpreting everything through that lens. Normal difficulties become proof of supernatural doom. Marital disagreements become harbingers of tragedy. For Charlene, the repeated assertion that the Grimaldis are cursed could feel like an added weight, intensifying every negative experience into evidence of a fate she cannot escape. Yet curses, if they exist at all, can also be broken by conscious effort, self-awareness, and mutual support, assuming the environment allows for it. Divided public opinion on Charlene's adaptation. Monaco's residents, along with international onlookers, offer a divided reaction. Some declare she needs to adapt more quickly and appear more enthusiastic. After all, she chose this marriage. Others sympathize, pointing out that learning palace protocol, local language, and aristocratic customs while battling health issues is no easy task. Online discussions often devolve into heated debates, reflecting broader tensions about the place of monarchy in the modern world and the unrealistic expectations placed on royal spouses. The open-ended conclusion: room for growth or retreat. There is no definitive climax to Charlene's story yet, no tragic final act or triumphant rewriting of royal protocol. She stands at a crossroads where her health, her marriage, and her role within Monaco's monarchy may shift in unforeseeable ways. If she regains strength, finds philanthropic projects that echo her passions, and acclimatizes further to Monegasque life, she may well prove that one can forge a genuine sense of self as a modern princess. Alternatively, if pressures mount and personal challenges grow insurmountable, she might choose a quieter path. Regardless, the ancient legend of a curse will continue to hover, fueling public fascination. Whether it is truly a supernatural affliction or merely a convenient symbolic lens for understanding misfortunes, it remains woven into the fabric of Monaco's royal narrative. Reflecting on our own fascination with royal fairy tales. Finally, it is instructive to recognize that much of the public's interest in Charlene's supposed misery reflects our broader obsession with royalty as fairy tales made real. We expect grand romances, lavish ceremonies, and perpetual happiness once the vows are exchanged. When confronted with evidence that real lives, even with crowns and diamonds, remain burdened by sorrow, health problems, and cultural barriers, we default to sensational storylines or ancient curses. It becomes easier to whisper about a witch's hex than to grapple with the human truth of an introverted athlete trying to flourish under an unyielding global spotlight. In that sense, Charlene's challenges highlight not merely the burdens of monarchy, but the fantasies we collectively project onto those who marry into royal families. As of now, the tale remains unfinished. Charlene continues her duties in Monaco, occasionally returning to South Africa, sometimes receiving treatment elsewhere, and raising her twins within the traditions of an enduring dynasty. While observers track her expressions at every public appearance, the reality of her life, like that of any person, may be far more intricate than those fleeting images suggest. Whether she will ultimately break free of the so-called Grimaldi Curse or become another cautionary chapter in its mythology is a question that only time can answer. Still, her story stands as a testament that beneath every tiara, there is an individual heart grappling with universal struggles of belonging, health, identity, and emotional well-being. If there is any lesson to be drawn, it is that even in fairy tales, true happiness must be cultivated, and no crown can protect the wearer from life's inherent challenges. And that's the content of today's video. If you enjoy the video, give us a like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive more of our new videos. Thanks for watching.